Welcome to Shalom and welcome to Practical Spirituality here in the Old City of Jerusalem at Esha Torah, overlooking the Temple Mount. Today we're going to talk about why bad things happen to good people. So we're going to start with a little story of a great Rabbi who lived in a town in Europe, and this particular Rabbi was amazing at nullifying decrees. So whenever there was a decree against the Jews in that region, that Rabbi, they would go to the Rabbi, they would say, there's a decree, and he would start his prayers, and he would go into his meditations, and do all his Kabbalistic things, and wind his way up to heaven, and get to the throne of glory, and then nullify the decree. And so it was really good to live in his era, because people just didn't get away, the people in power didn't get away with much with their decrees when that Rebbe was alive. Did I make a bracha? I don't think I made a bracha.
No, you didn't.
Okay, you guys ready? Just kidding. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehakol nהיה b'dvaro. I recently was in Washington Forest, and I asked the guys sharing the cabin, I said, hey, would you guys answer my bracha? And they're like, yeah, go ahead. Baruch was like a minute long. When I opened my eyes before I said atah, they were all gone. So they're like, how long do you want us to stand around? Okay, now but everyone should do one bracha like that a day. One bracha a day. Just like that. Okay, one bracha a day, inhale, exhale the whole word. Okay, a few minutes for a bracha. One bracha a day. Now, anyway, what happened was the Rebbe was about to pass away, and everyone was scared to death, so they go to the Rebbe's deathbed, and they're like, what's going to happen to us? You know, you nullify all decrees, and if you go, there's no one left. And the Rebbe looks at them and he says, a tzaddik, that means a holy man, is much more powerful in his death than in his life. And he passes away. And within a year, there was a decree against the Jews. And all the Jews were like, oh, it's going to be great. Except, guess what? The decree actually was fulfilled, and the Jews, ate it bad. They really got hurt bad. And they didn't know what to do. Another decree, same thing. Another decree, same thing. They finally went to the next best Rebbe of the generation. And they went to him and they said, listen, we need you to nullify the decrees. And he says, listen, I'm not on that level, but I am on the level to go have a talk with him. So I'll go have a talk with him, which is a Kabbalistic thing. You got to know names of God and how to do the mikvah appropriately. There's all these things you have to know about mikvah to do this. And then you come out and you use the names of God, and then I think you write the question, you put it under the pillow, you go to sleep. It's called a dream quest. And it's a highly Kabbalistic thing, the dream quest. So he does the dream quest, and he gets up to the Rebbe, and he says to the Rebbe, what's the deal? You told the community that you'd be more powerful in your death than in your life. And the Rebbe says, well, now that I'm up here, now I understand what's really going on. And so I realized that those decrees aren't bad. Why do bad things happen to good people? Well, I think it's going to be a subject of our perspective. It's a big subject of our perspective. How many times have we had bad things happen to us only to realize later that now I understand why I went through that? It's happening all the time. In fact, I'll even ask y'all to raise your hand. Raise your hand if you ever had something bad happen to you and you found out years later why, you finally understood why, or maybe you understood how it built you, it created greater character in you. Raise your hand if you ever went through something that you, at the time you wished, keep your hands up, at the time you wished, yeah, we can flip it just for fun. Keep your hands up. At the time you wished that it would have gone away. In fact, you might keep your hands up. What's going on? It is yoga, guys. Keep your hands up. Hands up. Uh-oh, these girls are turning red. I guess you are supposed to be somewhere else. Sorry. They're ditching some seminary. Anyway, okay, no one's watching this, except for everybody. Anyway, keep your hands up if you wouldn't trade what you went through. But meaning, if you traded what you went through, you'd have to also trade what you got. Keep your hands up if you wouldn't do that. Meaning I'm not willing to trade what I got. Okay, you see the same hands are up. Okay, you can put your hands down. So, as usual, everyone's hands are up, which is really something amazing. Because think about it. I'm going to ask you to raise your hand. I'm not going to put the camera on you this time. Apologize in advance. After the fact. Sometimes it's better to ask forgiveness than permission. Sometimes. One example like that is jacuzzis. Stumbling upon a hot tub. Better to ask forgiveness than permission. Okay? And, I've noticed ever since I'm Hasidic, I've stopped poaching hot tubs. Just because it just looks terrible. They come home from their, the movie or whatever, and there you are in their hot tubs, stark naked, and they're like, who the hell are you? And which was fine in the hippie days. We're a bunch of hippies mountain biking and, or surfing, and we just poach your hot tub, and, no harm, no foul, we'll leave if you want, but ever since I've been Hasidic, it's like, it just is too awkward. They're like, there's a rabbi in our hot tub, stark naked. What are we supposed to do? That should be on that should be a hack on YouTube of how to fix this situation. How do you fix that one? I fix everything with YouTube, by the way. We were just dealing with a flat tire the other day, and the tire seized. We took off all the lug nuts. You know how many Jews it takes to fix a flat tire, by the way? It takes about 5 to go like this until a Gentile pulls up and changes the tire. Yeah, which is basically how it works. And there's a famous folklore that someone once changed Trump's tire 40 years ago, and the guy paid off his mortgage. And the guy was wearing a kippah on his head, and really freaked out Trump. And another folklore story, but I heard this one's actually true, is that a guy was wearing a kippah, didn't know how to change his tire, and someone pulled up and fixed his tire for him, and he said to him, "Good Shabbos." It was a Friday. "Good Shabbos." I looked at him "What's that?" He forgot he was wearing a kippah. "What's that?" He says, "Good Shabbos. Good Shabbos. Shabbat, Judaism." And he's like, "Yeah." He's like, "You're not Jewish?" He's like, "No." "And what are you wearing a kippah for?" "And my mother gave this to me. She said, every time I'm in trouble, put this on." Anyway, we've all been through some rough times, but here's the funny thing, or not the funny thing, is that you're going through a rough time right now. Meaning not all of you, but 9 out of 10. 9 out of 10. Raise your hand, we'll see it again. I'm not going to put the camera. Raise your hand if you're going through something that you wish you were on the other side of. Let's say, for example, the kid's principal called and you need to deal with the kid. He's okay, it's just that there's something you got to deal with. And you just don't want to be on this side of that. You want to be on the other side of that. You know what I mean? Raise your hand if anything in your life right now you'd like to be on the other side of. Raise your hand, okay? So you see, all of us are there. And keep your hand up if you're you even do stuff about it, you're actually trying to do stuff about it. Raise your hand. Keep your hand up if you're hiring lawyers. Just kidding. But we will go to a shrink. We'll go to a shrink, just to deal with it. That's just extra money for dealing with stuff. You got to talk it out with somebody. It's a paid friend, No, I think therapists have got 2 major jobs. One is obviously people with mental illness, and the other is you got to pay to download that level of stuff. You can't just dump that on anybody. You got to pay for that. That's why it costs so much. Who wants to hear that stuff? I'm sure if you choose some random person, will hear it for free. But to get someone who's really going to sit there all day and hear that kind of stuff, that's going to cost a few $100 an hour. No wonder they lowered their time to 50 minutes in the last 10 years. Now it's 50 minutes. 50 minutes because they don't want to hurl themselves off the building afterwards. After 5 of these sessions, it's maybe we bring it down to 50 minutes. We'll be less suicidal after the day. Hearing all these miserable stories. Pity the fool with that job. Now, you guys have some sense of humor today, my goodness. So, I told you about mountain biking. Yeah, everyone should just go out and buy a mountain bike. By the way, I'm selling my best rig, like literally the fanciest bike, 25,000 shekel bike. I'm selling it for like, it's supposed to be for 8, but I'm getting desperate. So I might sell it as low as 7.5 or even 7, but that wouldn't be very nice to pay me 7.
Does it
But
come with an autograph?
it is I'll autograph the bike for sure. For sure, but I gotta get rid of this bike immediately, because I have to buy something else. So let me know if anyone wants an exotic mountain bike. It's just fun to tool around with it, even if you have a little extra money, like tooling around with a bike like that, because you can just fly off stairs. You can do something wrong, the bike will fix it for you. You know, like you make a bad move, it just somehow auto-correct. So, yeah. So we're all going through stuff. 9 out of 10 people are going through something. Yeah, we're all going through something. And we would love to be on the other side of it. But meanwhile, we're being built. If you were on the other side of it, you wouldn't get built. Because none of us would give up the stuff we went through if we would have to give up what built inside of us, how we were built by it. None of us would give that up, yet all of us are trying to get out of what we're going through now. What are you, Meshuggah? Are you crazy? If you're going through something right now, go through it. Just go through it. You know, I'm saying, like, don't wallow in it. I mean, if you've got some steps you can take to get out of it, great. But nothing heroic. Just go through it. If you're going through something, it's for a reason. Go through it. Yeah, well, just go through it. It's like just do it, but just go through it. Yeah, because it's nasty. It's nasty to go through stuff. It hurts. It's painful. And that's really, in a way, if you think about it, that's really our love affair with God. Because, I mean, right now we're reading the story. This month is about the story of Megillah. And it's like, there were nasty parts of that story. You know, being in the middle of a genocide, that ain't fun. There were tough things going on in there. Really tough things. Our prophetess Esther is taken by the king by force. You know, and just added to his harem, and I mean, just a disaster. A disaster. The whole thing's a disaster. The Purim story. Absolute disaster. But we notice through the story that it all turns out good, just like our own lives. We're always going through some kind of disaster. Some disasters are worse than others, obviously. But those are the ones that built you the most. And then you celebrate afterwards because who you became is someone amazing. Someone resilient. Someone who, like they say when someone breaks their arm or something, they always say to the doctor, could it break again? And the doctor says, yeah, but not there. Because when bones fuse, it's stronger than before. When bones fuse, they're very strong. And so your arm could break, not there. And the same thing with you. You could break again, and you will break again. We all break. But you're not going to break there because there you're strong. And so we're all inside our Purim story. And just like in the Purim story, you don't see the name of God, the only book in the Torah with God's name not in it. And what kind of book in the Torah doesn't have God's name? And yet you look around your life here, it's all with God hidden inside it. You don't see God's name in everything. You don't see it. You just see what's going on around you. And what's going on around you, you often resist. Because you think it's bad. You think it's negative. You think it was a mistake. You think God didn't have the right address when he sent you that. There must be some kind of mistake. And the answer is just like God precisely keeps you sustained physically right now with incredible precision, and just like God orchestrates everything around you, including your trip to Israel, like, how'd you get here? And it was all precise, pure accuracy of orchestration happened. Even your choice to come here had so much in the background that you would, if you really think about it, you were drawn here. Like all of you think you chose to come to Israel, whether you're supposed to be here for a year, whether you're supposed to be here for a week, a month, whatever your decision was. You think you made a choice. You didn't make a choice. I mean, God did hand you the microphone at the end of like a ton of things that he orchestrated behind the scenes. And then in the end, he handed you the microphone and like, they were like, will you go? And you were like, yes. And then they take away the microphone and you're like, nothing like free will. Which of course, God's just like, come on, like you were so set up, it was ridiculous. Like, I'd have bet $1 billion you were going to say yes after what I did. All that set up. So all of this is being orchestrated, and certainly the tough stuff we're going through, which is how we really get built, that stuff for sure, the bad stuff, is orchestrated. It's precise. It was sent our way with precision and accuracy. God doesn't make mistakes. He sends everything up the right alleys. For sure.
Sick, why do we daven?
So someone's sick, why do we daven? There's various reasons why we daven when someone's sick, but one of them is to be compassionate. Another reason is you have to know a little Kabbalah, but the way things work is there's something called Or Yashar. That's the straight light. That's like God creating the world. Okay. Then there's something called Or Choser. That's our prayer and our mitzvahs where we return the light. And then there's a third light where the Or Yashar, the straight light, hits the Or Choser, the returning light, and it blends and creates a third light that comes down called an Or Tikkun, rectified light. And so it could be the Or Yashar said this dude's going to be sick. And then we pray and we send like, please heal him. And then that mixes with the he's going to be sick. And it's a little bit of a tug of war, but it's more of a push of war. And it's pretty hard to play tug of war with God, by the way. It doesn't matter how many people you got on your side of the rope, it's God. He's holding it with his pinky. And sometimes he's trying to schlep people out of this place. Because think about it, your whole life here. You know how jealous God is of you? You know how jealous God is of you? First of all, look around your life. He's madly in love with you. God's got the biggest crush on you. It's sick. Yeah? God's got this crazy crush on you. And you see, he's like just literally like placing the stones before your feet as you walk down the path of life. He's got this crazy crush on you because you'd think he'd be busy. There's a whole universe out there, and who knows if there aren't others. Maybe there's other universes. And he's busy with you. So he's got this crush on you, and he's crazy about you, except what? He spends his whole time jealous because you think about him almost never. And imagine you had a second counter throughout the day. Anyone got an iPhone here to like count seconds? Like there's 60 seconds a minute. So how many seconds are there an hour? Anyone got their phone out? Like how many seconds are there an hour? And how many seconds are there in 24 hours? Yeah, do that math for us. But imagine you had a counter next to your bed at the end of the day that showed how many seconds of the 24-hour period were dedicated to thinking about the fact that you've got this infinite, all-powerful being who just can't seem to think about anything but you. He's crazy about you. Yeah, you understand? So don't worry, let him do it. You can do it. Okay, let's not have a big discussion about this. This is not very difficult math here. Okay, listen up. So you hear the answer. The answer is that we do have an impact.
Why do you daven at all?
What?
Meaning if everything is set for your portion, why do you daven at all? For money, for things.
Again, the question regarding prayer, I don't want to digress too much, but it's all or choser. Whenever we're praying, it's always that us seeing the situation. Like, for example, we see the exile. We see you look out this window, and you just see, you see the Temple Mount. You see, like, the destruction. It's like just as the Romans left it, plus a gold dome. Yeah? It's like exactly how the Romans left it. A couple trees, maybe gold dome, I don't know. But how can you not pray? How can you not try to tip some scales in the favor of our destiny of Third Temple? How can you not pray for that? That you would have to be calloused to not pray. And we got a commandment also, one of the 613 commandments is to pray. Is to pray. When you're in a tough spot, you pray. Or someone else in a tough spot, we're commanded to pray. You're fulfilling one of the 613 commandments when you pray. And so it's not just prayer, it's a mitzvah to do so. But it also shows a compassion. It shows you have a heart of flesh. You know, there's Jews out there that they don't know what's flying. 85% of Jews didn't even know it was Shabbos last week. 85%. We're all sitting at our Shabbos tables, you know. Shabbat shalom, hey. Shabbat shalom, hey. And meanwhile, there's Jews out there, they don't even know it's Shabbos. And they have no clue that we're supposed to actually, like, rejuvenate every week and, like, drop everything and just be. Which, by the way, let me go back to God being jealous. So God spends all his time being jealous of you because your mind's on everything but God. And this is why meditation is so important in Judaism. You have to meditate. Because if you don't get your mind focused, meditation just means to focus on one thing at a time until you become mentally disciplined. If you don't meditate, if you don't discipline yourself mentally, you're never going to really succeed at being God's beloved. And he spends all his time jealous of your distracted monkey brain. And when the Torah says that God is a jealous God, you know Oprah Winfrey, you know that she publicly on international television publicly denounces her affiliation with Christianity, saying, when I saw the words that God is a jealous God, I said to myself, what kind of God is that? I'm out. Yeah, and she just gave up God all because of the jealous God. When the Torah says God is a jealous God, is one of the most beautiful lines in the whole entire Torah. I mean, there's no more beautiful line. What it's basically saying, I mean, have you ever been jealous of someone? If you're jealous of someone, it's because you love them so much that you can't stand sharing them. And the Torah says that God doesn't want to have to share us. He doesn't like sharing neither our minds, which we already spoke about, nor our hearts in what we want, because we're all like Spider-Man. We're always shooting web everywhere. You know, I want that, and I'll take one of those, and I'll take one of those, and one of those, and then we're on Amazon, and we're just clicking away at what we want Amazon to deliver. Amazon Prime's going to come by tomorrow, you know, and we just got, but after a while, you're just caught in a giant web of desires. And God's out there in the cold just going like, you know, hi there, you know, where's Elmo? Where's Waldo? You know, we should start calling God Waldo, I think. Maybe we should rename God Waldo, you know, for where's Waldo? And I meet a lot of people who like, they're not sure there's a God, you know, like, how do I know there's a God? It's Waldo. Where's Waldo? Yeah, we're going to start saying where's Waldo instead of Shema Yisrael. Yeah. Can you imagine me in shul tonight, you know? Oy hey, Mama Yisrael! Where's Waldo? Anyway, but God is the fact that God's a jealous God is just an indication of how much he loves us. And by the way, why is God so serious about Shabbos? It's a little weird to have such serious penalties for breaking Shabbos. I understand, like, if you kill somebody, maybe that should be the death penalty, or you know, kidnapping, maybe that should be the death penalty. Rape, maybe that should be the death penalty. I mean, I can understand death penalties, you know, especially in Judaism, because in Judaism, you never mete out the actual penalty. None of those penalties it's not even possible to even execute anybody. You know, they say if one court executed someone in 70 years, that was called a bloody court, you know, for 70 years. I mean, if you look in our Torah, the death penalty is very liberal. You know, we're very liberal about the death penalty. And yet, if you get into Jewish law, you realize you can't ever kill anybody. So what in the world do we have a death penalty for? And how can you get the death penalty for not singing Shabbat Shalom? You know, Shabbat Shalom, hey, Shabbat Shalom, hey. Where's my haze? Shabbat Shalom. Hey. Shabbat Shalom. Hey. You know, can you imagine killing somebody for not singing that song? Truly, I'll kill somebody if they do sing that song. So they. I
think Quorum's coming early.
Yeah, it's definitely coming early. So, how can you not How can you kill someone for that? And so the point is obviously no one's ever getting killed for breaking Shabbos, but the point is that God's just telling you that you just spent the last week with your crackberry and your thumbs moving 1,000 miles per hour on that thing. You're trying to assert yourself on everything in the world like some dog walking by a lamppost, marking off territory. You haven't thought about me in like who knows when. So I'm just asking you to slide into home plate Friday afternoon and stop pretending you actually did anything, because you didn't. Because it's all an illusion anyway. This is all one giant Truman show. We're in the Matrix here. You know, like as if you're making any choices. You think I'm teaching this class? God's teaching this class, okay? It is Groundhog's Day, yeah. Anyway, God is teaching this class, and
Where does Bechira fall in?
let's see.
Sorry.
And so God asks us to keep Shabbos, but he plays hardball. He really wants it because he's not willing to have you ignore him for more than 6 days. That's why it says in the Torah, 6 days a week you shall ignore me, and on Shabbos you shall rest from ignoring me. Now, here's the amazing thing about bad things happening to good people, is that the whole planet has, over 7 billion people. And all those 7 billion people are going through something that they wish they're on the other side of. And all 7 billion people are right now in this, like, what's he singing? Have a Nagila? Can you open the door so we can hear Have a Nagila a little better here? Did its face. Everybody. Whoa, slow it down. You don't spend enough time in studio, I see. There's a metro. Okay, that's enough of that. Someone turn off the main power of our building, please. Okay. Is it on me right now? Okay, so the Hava Nagila, my goodness. Can you imagine the guy who wrote that? He must have been on glue. Yeah. Hava Nagila. I think it was on weed, actually. It was originally Have a Nargila. Yeah. It was originally Have a Nargila. Vinismecha, and we'll be happy. Have a Nargila. Maybe it was a Mexican who was Have a Tequila. Okay, now, yeah. This is why I make Kiddush on tequilas, because it says Tequila Lemikre Kodesh. Now, listen up. Seriously. I never thought why bad things happen to good people would be our funniest class of the year here. But it just wasn't like the title that was supposed to be the funny class, But I'm glad if I've lightened anyone's load who clicked on this particular bait, So I hope I lightened your day a little bit. Anyway, but you got 7+ billion people going through something. And here's the crazy thing. If you ask all 10 billion of them, did I just say 10 billion? If you ask all 7 billion of them 10 years later, why they went through what they went through? I mean, based on IQ, obviously, but the majority of them would have a reason why. They'd explain it. And they wouldn't even give it up. They wouldn't give up what they went through if it would mean giving up who they became as a result of going through it. Now, I mean, atheism? Like, that someone could actually think that there's no God in a world with 7 billion intelligent people all going through something who 10 years later can explain why that happened, how they are actually inside a giant personal transformation seminar called Life. And God's the, what do you call the leader of a seminar? God's the seminar leader. And I'll tell you, as someone who runs seminars, I got a Hebrew one starting tonight for men. As someone who leads seminars, you have to break people down a little bit. You got to break them down a bit to get them to start to listen, to start to become a little coachable. You got to break them down. I'm a seminar leader and I break people, and I'm looking always for that one guy who's going to try to break me. I love that guy. Had one recently in Muncie. What a moment. What a moment we had with that guy. He was going for break the rabbi. You know what his trick was? Can you tell me when lunch break is? By the way, we're in there for 11 hours straight. Can you tell me when lunch break is? And I'm like, no. And he's like, you know, Rabbi, we've already been in here for quite some time, and you know, there's someone coming to pick me up for lunch. So I'd like to be able to like let them know what time lunch is. And I'm like, I heard you the first time you asked. I'm not telling you when lunch starts, because I don't even know when lunch starts. So I guess it starts when I say it's lunchtime. And this guy's in his 70s. And he started the whole seminar when we all sat around the circle. And we started the whole seminar. When we started the whole seminar, he said that his wife's gonna walk if he doesn't get a breakthrough. Meaning there was a lot at stake here. And of course the whole room, well, he kept going, by the way. The whole room knows exactly why she's walking. Because he kept pressing me. He was not gonna let me be in control. But think about it, ladies and gentlemen. If you really think about it, it's really our need to control that has us so upset when we're going through God's seminar. When we're going through those tough times, the worst part about it is that stuff we're going through we don't want, yet we can do nothing about it, really. We're just gonna have to go through it. You see, the only way out in life, in God's seminar, is through. And all those people who are always going out, they're running out, they're medicating with grass or sports or Facebook or Instagram or some other news feed or whatever. Everyone who tries to go out never leaves. You see, the only way out is through. Everyone try that together. The only way out is through. 1, 2, 3, everybody. The only way out is through. And you go in there with everything you got. You go in with your life. You go in. You don't resist. You don't run. Because if you run, it's going to stay there. And it's going to get worse. When you don't care for a cut, it gets infected and it can get worse and worse. God forbid. When our life's infected and we try to run from it, it just gets worse. We always wonder how people fall so far. And the reason people fall so far when things are rough on them is because they're running away instead of in, towards. The only way out is through. Why do you think God made it so impossible to leave your spouse? Why did God make it so miserable? I get phone calls all day. Even when I was mountain biking, I was counseling somebody. He's like, I'm married to a vulture. Vulture's better than my wife. At least a vulture waits till you're dead. And I've been getting the same phone call from this guy for 15 years. Because there's no way out. The only way out is how? Through. You got to do your work. He's got to do his work and become a man. She's got to do her work and make him her man. In conclusion of today's session, I'd like to give you the actual meter of how spiritual they are. Normally spirituality is not something you can measure, obviously. But there is one measure of spirituality. So I'd like you to listen carefully. Spirituality is the amount of time it takes you to go through something that you wish you weren't going through and realized that it was meant to be. The amount of time. Yes, for 7 billion people on the globe, it may take 10 years for us to get the whole globe agreeing that what they went through. And which, by the way, could only be with a God. An involved God. Not the kind of God who like created the world like people believe he like spun it like a top, but then he went parasailing in a lot. You know, like God took off and just left it. And people think that way? Do you realize if God took even the words, let vegetation be upon the earth that were said at Genesis and Bereshit, if God were to take those words out of creation for a second, there would not be a single strand of cotton in this room. Most of you would be naked right now. I'd be just wearing my vest, which would be pretty foxy. Because this is let there be animals, it's made of wool. And I'd still have my pants on, though I'd be without underwear. But as a surfer, I don't think I wore underwear for about 12 years. So I'd be cool. You'd be a little embarrassed. The world only exists because God's uttering those words, those 10 beams, the word Bereshit, and the 9 let there be's. Let there be this, let there be that. That's how we're here right now. This meter of spirituality is how long does it take you to go through something and realize why? Does it take you a year? A more spiritual person, maybe half a year? Like you realize why you broke your leg because you had to marry the nurse or something? Like half a year? How long does it take you to realize? If it's a long time, you're not that spiritual person. If it's a shorter time, you're more spiritual. Even shorter? Whoa. Hey. And I'll finish with a quick story, and that was that I was walking to synagogue near my house, and this elderly lady in her 80s who walked fully bent over, like literally 90 degrees, which means she must have had amazing stomach muscles and back muscles. I don't know how she did that, because she was kind of thick. And she walks like this, 80 degrees. In her 80s, she's going to shul. Now, the women's section had a thin wrought iron gate, with a lip that hits the, post. And it's standing straight open because it's time for prayer. And on the other side of her is the men's section. And I'm walking this way. And a friend of mine sees me and says, hey, Yom Tov. I said, hey. She thought I was saying hey to her. So she looks up, realizes it's me, and I'm looking at someone else. And she looks back and boom! Right on that lip with all her force. I mean, she weighs twice as much as me. Boom. Right on her forehead. And she makes this ghastly sound. Words. It wasn't so understandable, but it was definitely Hebrew. And she's just like seeing stars, and we grabbed her and we like held her and like brought her into the women's section and sat her down. She was like literally almost unconscious from hitting this thing. And we walked outside, and I said to him, she said something when she hit the gate. And he says, yes, she did. You know what she said? Because he's Israeli, you understand better. She said, Magia li. It was coming to me. She's in real time. 7 billion people, yeah, we see God's hand. If 7 billion people 10 years later can say God was behind it all, well, they can at least say, I know how I grew. Another person, maybe a few months. Maybe it takes another person a couple days to get over something difficult, to realize why it's probably part of not probably, but definitely part of the story. It's part of my Megillah. But this lady, she was in real time. Things are happening in real time in her life. Who knows what she just did? I mean, she probably thought of God in the bathroom or something. I mean, she's like so holy like that. Like that was like her big sin, Magia li. Magia li, it was coming to me. How long does it take you to say that? How long does it take you to say that this is exactly what I need? I'm in God's seminar. God's seminar, I'm going through stuff, not running away from stuff. I'm in. And and putting up that white flag, which is the key to all growth, the white flag of surrender. That I surrender to my circumstances right now. I'm going to try to do something to get out of it, but I, at least in this moment, surrender to what's going on. And I'm awake, and I'm alive, and I'm watching, and I'm growing, and I'm moving accordingly as God presses my Play-Doh into shape. I'm Gumby, and God is moving me exactly where I need to be so that I can become great. Thank you very much. Just want to mention to everybody, to join my club. Please join my club already. It's Yom Tov Media Club.com. Please join that. We're also, thank God, we raised money for the poor bride. We already got her a dress and a half. It's 1,000 shekels for a dress for her marriage and stuff. Okay, shalom everybody.
Winston Churchill once said,